Warning, this video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest in capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and no memes today. I know a lot of you are going to be upset about that, but I think I want to have a serious conversation with you guys, right? I've been incredibly bullish. For a very long time. In fact, one of the biggest criticisms I had just about 12 months ago was that I was unreasonably bullish, right? People were saying this guy's an idiot. He's just permanently bullish. Bitcoin has to retest the lows and like to call for all-time highs in the stock market when, you know, we have to go to new lows and blah, blah, blah. That was my biggest criticism, was that I was always too bullish. And anyone that has been following my work for any length of time knows that I pretty much just constantly mock the doomsayers, right? I pretty much constantly mock the perma-bears. Anyone that has a thumbnail in their YouTube channel that is on fire, right, and is calling for the sky to fall, I also mock those people often. I also recently have been mocking the idea of World War III, saying I just don't think there's any probability at all that we're going to actually enter that, and I know that's not a popular idea. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here, if you're new, is that I'm wholly speaking a very positive guy, right? I've been very, very bullish, and like I said, I've been so bullish that most people, that has been their biggest criticism of me, is that I was just a non-stop permabull. But we are now getting to the point where, first of all, let me make this clear, I think, yes, we go higher, but we are certainly now getting to the point, in my humble opinion, where the end is nigh. And again, if you have been following me for any length of time, you'll be going to yourself, okay, this must be serious, because you've never heard me say that. Never once in over 600 videos have I said, it's time to start getting bearish, right? It's time to start leaning towards seeing the end and the tops come in. But I honestly believe we're getting that way. Now, I want to make a few points. Okay, I'm mostly going to freestyle this. I don't really know where I'm going at this current moment in time, but I'm getting a lot of people criticize me and say that I'm being dogmatic and I'm refusing to pivot out of deflation. So I want to define deflation. I want to show you that, again, anyone that's been following me for a while knows I'm not dogmatic, right? I don't care about being right or wrong. And I know that there are plenty of people out there that can't comprehend that, all right? But I don't care about being right or wrong about deflation. I care about getting out of the top for the stock market and for Bitcoin. That's what I care about. I don't care if I'm right or wrong about deflation or inflation or sticky inflation. It makes no difference to me, right? What matters is, can I continue to capture the bulk of the move in the stock market? Can I continue to stay on the right side of the Bitcoin trades? And most importantly, can I sell out at the top or as close to the top as to say, yep, we managed to nail the top? That's what I actually care about. So it's not that I'm dogmatic. Again, I know anyone that's been following me for any length of time knows that. But I'm seeing a lot of people say, like, oh, he can't back down from deflation. Well, the reality is, you're right. I can't back down from deflation because I think it's more likely than ever. I genuinely think it's more likely than ever. So that's what I'm going to try and convince you of today. Not convince you, but I want to show you. I just want to show you the data, point at a few things and say, look, when the market speaks, it's our job to listen. The market is currently telling us there's going to be a currency crisis. So hopefully by the time I presented some of this data today, you'll be able to see at least my perspective, at least so that you can say, okay, I disagree, but I understand why he wants to stick with that idea, right? And again, it is not out of dogma. It is not out of ignorance. It's not because I want to be right or I care about being wrong. Again, you already know. So first of all, what exactly is deflation? Okay, deflation is a general decline in price and goods and services, typically associated with, this is the key, contraction of the monetary supply and credit in the economy. During deflation, the purchasing power of the currency rises over time. The purchasing power of the currency rises over time. So for a very long time, this chart here, which you will have seen a bunch of times, many people think this is completely broken. Hopefully you can just stick with me and you'll see that it's not the case. Okay, when you change the M2 rate of change, okay, we typically see it manifest in the CPI with around an 18 to 19 month lag. Now, admittedly of late, this wobble has been more sticky than I thought. Admittedly of late, I was not expecting them to change the way they calculate the CPI basket 3 months ago. And admittedly of late, okay, we have seen the CPI start to wobble for longer than I personally expected to see. But that does not change the facts. And the facts are this snapback went much deeper than people want to entertain. Now stick with me. Here is an updated look, okay? What do you see at the hard right edge? Do you not see a snapback into the negative territory for M2SL? That is not nothing. Why? Because by definition, when we have a massive contraction in the supply of money, it tells us to keep an open mind about deflation. That is literally what deflation is, and an increase in purchasing power of currency. So we have some of the prerequisites, right? We have the snapback from massive expansion in M2 to negative contraction. We have that at the hard right edge. We also, and I know I've shown this before, have the TMC global credit impulse, which also leads by 18 months, CPI in the blue. You can see that is telling us to expect deflation as well. So just because the mainstream narrative with their fake data, this is the thing, nobody believes the data, right? But yet we're just going to disregard that and say, well, Camel's unable to budge. Yeah, I'm unable to budge because everything still points to us seeing deflation. Does it come a bit later in the year? Quite possibly. Is it entirely possible I'm flat wrong? Yes, that's entirely possible. But the point is it's too early to tell at this current moment. And I've got a lot more stuff to show you that is indicative that we are going to see deflation still. We've also got this oil, which is probably looking to break down in the not too distant future. Again, this is a massively contrarian stance. But back here, when I shorted the top of oil, everyone called me crazy because $150 was guaranteed at that point. That's what the market thought. The market thought there's this war in the Middle East. We have to run $150 per barrel. Everyone thought I was off my nut. And we managed to pick the top and short this market down to around here somewhere. So I'm telling you now, I'm getting ready to short this market. I know the consensus in the market is that this thing is going to run like this. I don't personally believe it because there's no way that we can have this deflation with oil doing this. Now, maybe I'm invalidated because oil is going to do that, okay? Maybe. But if this thing rolls over like I suspect it does, it's going to be another data point that suggests, again, inflation is going to roll over. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, yeah, well, how can we have that sticky inflation, the Fed, blah, blah, blah. Just wait a minute, okay? Just wait a minute and have a look at a couple of other things to consider. First of all, take a look at the S&P melt-up chart, okay? Now, again, when we were down here, everyone thought that it was an absolutely ridiculous idea that we could run the all-time highs. Everyone thought that was so silly. And now we're here, suddenly everyone thinks that deflation is impossible. And again, at the hard right edge, right, in pink, it's been written here the entire time. Dixie to 134 to 140. Characteristic of deflation is that during deflation, the purchasing power of a currency rises over time. The dollar should be bid. This has been written here for over 18 months. And on top of that, if we hop into a dollar chart, this is no joke, okay? This is no joke. We have breakout retest, now a confirmed resumption for the Dixie, confirming a slightly early but legal 3-year cycle low. Tells us that, whilst I was saying the whole time, it would be nice, it would make our lives easier if we got a rollover, right? And that is certainly not off the table at this point, but it's hard for me to be anything other than bullish on the Dixie right now. It's hard for me to just expect that what comes next is this, when the chart has spoken. That's an early 3-year cycle low. This is a bullish structure. Breakout, retest, resumption. The thing seems to want higher. Now, alarm bells should be ringing here. Why? Because of how stretched we are in this market. I showed yesterday that we are in a parabola that goes back to pre-2000. And inside that parabola, right, we have a more zoomed in parabola unfolding. We have likely set the first angle already, right? That's almost certain at this point. That's our first angle in red at the bottom. Once we find a daily and weekly cycle low, which should be any day now, okay, within the next week and a half, let's say, we will have to adjust this trend line to encompass wherever that forms. That will be the second angle set. And then thereafter, if I'm just right for the next 2 months, I've been right this whole time. If I can just remain right for the next 2 months, we should see a blow off top unfold, right? We should see a near vertical rally unfold in the face of the dollar breaking out. Okay, just keep that in the back of your mind. Like I said, if you can just give me the benefit of the doubt that I'm going to continue to be right, and I don't know if I am, right? I'm not saying I will. I'm just saying, let's assume, just for the sake of this argument, that we find a daily cycle low, a weekly cycle low, and then we enter the third angle. In about 2 months' time, that will put us somewhere around here, okay? Somewhere around here. This is what the chart should look like, something like this, okay? Against the backdrop of the dollar breaking out. Now, if I'm also right for the next 2 months, if you just give me the benefit of the doubt, what will Bitcoin look like? If we walk forward to around the middle of June, let's say, for another couple of months, we should be somewhere in this neighborhood here for Bitcoin, okay? If you just give me the benefit of the doubt, if the left translated cycle continues to play out, if the blow off top continues to play out, we should expect something like this, okay? This is roughly where we should be in 2 months. So with the stock market set its third angle, significantly higher, near vertical, Bitcoin should be somewhere in this neighborhood, having set 1, 2, 3 angles, and all against the backdrop of the dollar looking to run higher, okay? This is not a function of currency debasement. This is not a normal market move, okay? Nothing about this is normal. Nothing whatsoever. And if you're not convinced at this point, let's take a look at the gold chart. Let's just give me the benefit of the doubt and assume I'm going to continue to be right for another 8 weeks or so, right? That tells me we should get some kind of pullback into a daily cycle low, some kind of resumption of the uptrend, Okay, another cycle low, and perhaps we're somewhere in, where's the middle of June? Probably not too far from reality, what I've drawn here. Okay, let's just assume I'm right about this, and this is what we see from gold. Now, maybe the actual number is a bit lower down, okay, but overall, a pullback and a bounce. That's what I'm calling for. Now, objectively speaking, if I'm right about this, what will we have? We will have gold doing this, okay? Massive, massive breakout into new all-time highs against a backdrop of the S&P 500 having set a third angle of attack in a parabola, within a parabola. We will also, as I said, have Bitcoin well on its way to putting in a left translated cycle top, again with a third angle of attack, a parabola for Bitcoin as well. And if I grab this support and extend it out, okay, something like this into the middle of June, we are conservatively looking for a dollar to be somewhere in this neighborhood, to have some kind of breakout look into that same time frame. Okay, now if this doesn't tell you the writing is on the wall, I honestly don't know what does. When we've got the stock market putting in a parabola, what do you think comes next? Okay, they break to the downside. That's what they do. When you have Bitcoin, like I just showed you, also in a parabola, having set three angles of attack, right in the neighborhood where we would expect to see a left translated cycle, what do you think happens next? Do you think it just keeps going straight up, or do you think maybe it breaks down? Also for gold, okay, why is gold breaking out with everything else? Why is gold breaking out? Gold always knows something, okay? The big boys know something severe is coming, and as I've been showing you with this fractal, it probably knows that this is what's coming next for gold. Gold would not do this for no reason, okay? Why do you think this is happening? And again, why do you think the dollar refuses to roll over? Why is the dollar increasing in purchasing power relative to other things at the moment? Why? Could it be perhaps because we had a snapback in M2? Could it be perhaps that typically whatever you do to the M2 rate of change does eventually show up in CPI, albeit with a lag? Could it be that we have these credit impulses that typically lead by 18 months, pulling us into deflation by the end of the year? And would all of that align, perhaps with seeing a demand-destroying event that forces oil to roll over and thus drags CPI down with it? You tell me, if we get a blow-off top in the stock market and the thing breaks, the parabola is violated and it rolls over massively, is that not going to force people to exit risk assets like Bitcoin, like the stock market, and hide in a temporary safe haven like the dollar? Is that not what we're going to see? I think it is. I think that's what typically happens when you get a parabolic blow-off top break to the downside. I think people like me will sell out of their risk assets and want to hold dollars in the short term. And that will put a bid underneath the dollar that will largely contribute to having a 134 to 140 plus Dixie, in line with this thing being written here the whole time. And as if all of that is not enough, like I keep saying over and over again, all right, the writing is on the wall. This is not nothing. Everything is in a blow-off top moment. Everything is entering the final portion of the parabola. Everything is about to set, or has already set, potentially a third angle of attack with a dollar breaking out. Okay, with the dollar breaking out. I hate to be alarmist. I'm not trying to be alarmist. Okay, but this is what the start of currency crises look like. This is what the start of them look like. Okay, this is not normal. Why is gold breaking out with the dollar? Why is gold breaking out with the stock market? I thought the stock market moves inversely to gold. Okay, why is everything breaking out, including the dollar? Why is everything setting parabolas and we're just sitting here pretending like that's not the end of the world, like it doesn't matter? As if I can just continue to be right for another 8 weeks, that this is completely normal and to be expected price behavior. This is not normal. This is not normal. And when we get up here, guess what? We're not going to keep going up forever. We're going to break down. We're going to have something break. We're going to have some kind of global recession. And in that period there, we are going to see people panic buy the dollar. They're going to see that flight to safety into the dollar. We're going to see demand come into the dollar. And then we're going to be able to look back at all of this and go, you know what? That actually made perfect sense the whole time. Okay, so it is not that I am dogmatic. It is not that I'm not willing to pivot. It's not that I care about being right or wrong. It's that I had a couple of quite simple yet very contrarian ideas. Those ideas were that we would have this blow off top that culminates in a deflationary bust. Those ideas were that we would have a left translated cycle top and an all-time high before the halving for Bitcoin. Understandably at the time, okay, people didn't believe me. Like I said, people thought I was a permabull. But how could you possibly expect me not to stick with my guns? How could you expect me to get all the way to here, right? A blow-off top within a blow-off top. The almost near perfect completion, right? The almost near perfect achievement of this blow-off top melt-up that's about to go into a deflationary bust. How can you expect me to have the second possibly about to set the third angle of attack, and then go, no, deflation's not coming. No, we're just going to keep going up, right? Like I said, it's not about being dogmatic. It's not about being, I don't even care about being right or wrong. I just want to be out at the top. That's all I care about. But look at this. This is a massive parabolic blow off top that goes all the way back pre the year 2000. Okay, this is over 24 years old, needless to say. I'm sure you can do the mental arithmetic. And then a more zoomed in version, as I've shown you a bunch of times already. Okay, you know, what do you think happens if I just continue to be right for another 8 weeks? Do you think I continue to be right for another 8 weeks and then we don't break down? Here's another pretty decent chart. You can see every time we touch this resistance, price reacts shortly thereafter. Okay, what do you think happens next after we put in a blow off top, particularly if we put in a blow off top, right? Something's going to have to change immediately for us not to see some kind of deviation and a massive rollover and a breakdown. Again, if we get that rollover and a breakdown, that is asset price deflationary. The dollar is going to be bit. We're going to be able to look back at this and say, you know what, that actually made perfect sense. We're going to be able to look at this and go, well, yeah, that's typically what happens. We will look at this in hindsight probably and say, you know what, just like everyone was way too bullish oil here, they're also way too bullish here. In hindsight, it makes perfect sense. We'll be able to look at Bitcoin and say, you know what, that was pretty weird. Bitcoin doesn't usually do that kind of thing. It's never done that before. It's completely abnormal for Bitcoin. Why did it do that? Right? Why? We'll be able to look at gold and say, you know what, gold always knows something, right? Gold doesn't break out for no reason, right? There's a reason gold is breaking out. And in hindsight, with a dollar that's also breaking out, okay, this is slowly but surely going to become the most obvious thing in the world ever. So as always, if something changes, right, if we start to go sideways, if we fail this weekly cycle, if we find a weekly cycle and then roll over, start to crash early, right? If we start to build some big sideways consolidation structure, something like this, something that anything other than setting a third angle and going vertical, then I will hold my hands up and say I've been invalidated. Then I will say, you know what? I called for a parabolic blow off top and we are no longer going parabolic. The same is true of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin trades sideways or down and it doesn't set a third more violent angle, then I will hold my hands up and say it's not going to be left translated, right? I don't care about being right or wrong. If gold turns out to be a massive fake breakout and rolls back under its prior all-time high, under that big level that it spent 4 years basing under, then I will hold my hands up and say, okay, gold didn't know something. It was a big fake out, right? And if the dollar rolls over now and starts to plummet sub 90, then I will hold my hands up and say, you know what, fine, I'm completely flat wrong about this. But how can you expect me to hold my hands up and say I'm invalidated when this is the most validated I've ever been? The only thing going against me is they changed the calculation for the CPI, and right now the CPI doesn't reflect what I believe it should reflect. That's the only thing you can get me on. The rest of this is exactly according to plan. And like I said, what do you think happens when we break these parabolas? Do you think the dollar doesn't resolve significantly higher after everything breaks down from a massive blow off top and a parabola? So as ever, one day at a time. The only thing I know is that I don't know. I don't care about being right or wrong. I only want to stay on the right side of the market. I only want to stay on the right side of the trade. I personally do not see how we get out of July or August without being in very, very different conditions than what we are in at the moment. Again, if things change, I will change. But for now, you know, if you think that inflation is going to be sticky, if you think we're not going to get deflation, then you really need to see a cooling off in asset prices immediately. Because if we continue to go vertical, then we will come down in a very nasty manner. And when we come down in a nasty manner, it will drive the Dixie way, way, way higher, particularly if we get a recession. I know there's all that talk about the election year. All right, we're going to find out. We are going to find out together. Again, I'm not claiming to be some Jedi mastermind that has all the answers. I'm just a trader. I'm just a camel on the internet that tries to take things one day at a time. But like I keep saying over and over again, it's impossible for me to say, no, I'm invalidated, when frankly, this is the most validated I've ever been. We have set 2 out of 3 angles for both Bitcoin and the stock market. All we have to do is hold the weekly cycle low due at the end of next week and start to accelerate more, and we will set the third angle. How can I call for a parabola, see a third angle unfold, and say, oh, no, I'm invalidated? I'm not. I'm the most validated ever. The same with a left translated cycle. We could go sideways or down, in which case invalidated. But if the thing keeps going up, okay, if we start to set another third angle, if we continue to hold the third and even look at setting a fourth for Bitcoin, then what do you think comes next? Gold and the Dixie breaking out together is not nothing, okay? The writing is on the wall. I am slowly but surely becoming the biggest bear on this platform. After being the biggest bull for as long as I can remember, for 600 odd videos, I am now getting to the point where it is starting to become increasingly difficult for me not to be very, very bearish. So I hope I've given you something to consider. I hope you can take in what I've said. And if you disagree, that is absolutely fine, okay? I'm not saying that this is the correct way to look at the markets. I'm not saying I will be correct. As you know, I don't care. I've been wrong plenty of times. I will be wrong plenty more times. But as far as I can tell, okay, like, it's not off the table yet. It is not off the table yet. And as soon as I can say for sure it is off the table, I will let you know, okay? I will let you know. It's not a dogma thing. It's not stuck to a bias or married to a narrative. Based on everything I've shown you today, I just don't see how there's any other way around it. Unless, of course, something starts to change very, very rapidly. I'm your boy Camel. I hope you're doing well in life. Until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.